Hey y'all, happy weekend. We back. Um Today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about a subject that is misunderstood and a lot of people don't talk about it. It's grief. And we're doing this in a unique fashion in that we are going to I'm sorry, am going to interview my mom and dad, Apostle and Bishop Matthew and Cora Brown, and I'm going to interview my wife, Amber Brown. And we're going to get the perspective on what grief is. And we're going to just talk a little bit. Enjoy. So, as a means of introduction, hello. Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Um, we are having an interview with three very special people of mine. Um, I don't get nervous very often, but I am very nervous. But
Oh,
we
okay.
are we are here with my pastor and my mother and father, um, the bishop, and the apostle, Apostle Matthew Brown and Bishop Cora Brown. Um, so, and we are also here with my boo thing, uh, Amber Brown. So we're talking today about the topic of grief. Now, normally I can talk about stuff and from a perspective of the Bible and things like that. However, these three know this topic a little bit more succinctly than I do. And so I wanted to get them on board to see and get some insight and some clarity and some information for those who are struggling with the topic. Okay. And it's three different perspectives. My mom and dad, um, and I'm not going to call them mom and dad all the time, but pretty much most of the time you'll hear mom, dad, something. But they come from a perspective of losing a parent. My wife has also lost a parent, but we're coming from three different perspectives. And so we'll talk about it a little bit. If you'd like, starting with Dad, give us a brief intro. Tell us who you is, who you ain't, things of that nature.
Um, uh, my name is Matthew. I'm Tim's dad and Cora's husband, and Amber's my daughter. that's,
And there you
that's,
go.
that's good enough.
And there you go. Mommy?
Well, I'm going to say the same thing he did. I'm Cora Brown. Tim's my son. Amber's my daughter.
Thank you. And
She forgot
Amber?
me.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Dad?
She forgot me.
Oh, Matthew is my husband.
This is gonna be a time.
Well, I'm Amber Brown. Tim is my husband. Apostle Matthew is my dad. And Mama Cora is my mama.
So I am the facilitator. I'm going to chime in every now and again, but with questions and things of that nature. I have a slew of questions. We may not get through all of them. More than likely, we're not going to get through all of them, but we wanted to get as much context as possible. And we're going to start with the basics for everybody. What is your definition of grief from a pastoral perspective and from the perspective of one who has experienced it?
I think if I can start, I would like to say I wrote this down on the napkin this morning. I still have a napkin in front of me. It says, uh, "It is grief is an emotional translation of death to life and life to death."
Mm.
And that pretty much will that will pretty much cover it. It's kind of like understanding a language you can hear, but you don't necessarily understand, or hearing a language, but not necessarily being able to understand it. You see the motions of it, you see the result of it, but you don't really get it.
Mhm.
Mom, what's your definition?
My definition of grief was an emotion as the result of a loss.
Mm.
And never mind, I'm not going to add any more because that goes into another question.
I know. That's why I asked you. But before you go further, Amber, what is your definition?
My definition of grief is um the same as everybody else, the emotions and feelings that come with a loss. Um, they can be very, very strong. They can be extremely heavy. Sometimes you can lose a friend and feel that loss, but it's your emotional response to lost.
Okay. Everybody has alluded to the word loss. Is it loss in the perspective of missing the person that is gone? Or is it loss in the perspective of losing opportunity with the one that is gone?
I think both. Go ahead, Gar.
I was just going to jump right in and say both because um, it's an emotional thing. Missing it's like a part of that person. It's a part of you is gone, and
Mhm.
you know that you won't be able to see them or communicate or interact with them anymore. But also, as you said, opportunities. A lot of times we look back and things that we could have done. I know we can't go back and change anything, but we look at the things that we could have done. Did I do everything that I possibly could while they were here?
Right.
And as you say, it's both.
I think that amplifies it. I think the amplification of uh, grief is not only the loss, but the loss of uh, woulda, coulda, shoulda,
Mm.
and or I was waiting for the right time, I was waiting for the right situation, and I thought I had more time.
Mm.
That more than anything, that I thought I had more time. If I had to do it over again, but see, I, it's the one thing emotionally that there is no do over,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
and that's the hurtful part.
Mhm.
One of the hurtful parts.
Mhm. A lot of grief comes with regret. Um, like everyone said, it comes with that feeling of regret of what didn't I do, what didn't I
Hmm.
say, and you know that while in on this earth, you won't have an opportunity again to do that, to say those things or do those things. And sometimes the guilt can be more crushing than the grief itself. Sometimes you could feel so guilty about what you didn't do and say that it overwhelms the grief. It's just,
Hmm.
it can be damaging. Yeah.
Amber, you said a couple of things. Um, I wrote a note that said, "Grief is a grief is a cloud, and sorrow is a box."
Mm.
Mm.
And when we look at, um, you can get, you could probably get past the cloud or from under the cloud, but you can't get out of the box.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's sorrow is like a living coffin for
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
who believe that, oh man, if I could have, or if I should have, and it's tough.
Mhm.
it is tough, and what I see as grief is it's the most unpredictable thing, one of the most unpredictable things
Mm-hmm.
ever. And from the book of Isaiah, when it says, "Surely He hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows," which means if He had to take uh, this godly man had to bear it and carry it, and something that was unfathomable as far as emotions are concerned. But he says, I have to do this because it's necessary for you, because it is a cloud that can overshadow, and it is and like you said, that box of depression,
Mm-hmm.
and that moves from sorrow to depression, and it's really complex.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just say up front, I am not an expert on grief and sorrow. All I can say is observation and experience, and seeing it from working in healthcare for 40 years and seeing it in all forms. It,
Mm-hmm.
it is universal. It is the one universal thing. There are some universal things like what death, music, math,
Yeah.
and grief, laughter, and
Laughter and grief are
yeah,
go
yeah,
hand in
all
hand.
those.
Exactly. So I know this is off script a little bit, but you guys hit a great point, and Dad, you hit a very heavy point. Is sorrow and grief the same?
No,
You can
no,
clarify, you can clarify that, but added to that, is there a time limit on sorrow or grief?
the answer is no. And
No.
Amber answered this earlier. The word she used was regret, and that regret, the sorrow is the regret, is the box you're in that can move. If you stay in the box, you'll move to depression.
Mhm.
And as far as limits, I've seen people get over things, and it's like a husband who loses his wife, or wife loses their husband, and they marry in a fairly short period of time. Well, we call it a short period of time,
Right.
within a few months or less than a year, and so forth. And people look at them like, uh,
So upset.
yeah,
We have seen
uh-huh.
that example. Yes.
Mhm.
And, and what that does is that those people in that box, they haven't come out of the box.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And what the person who got married, the person who got married needs to understand that there's a lot of people who have emotions that they aren't fixed yet. They aren't settled yet. They aren't calm yet, because they just don't understand it. They don't understand how you can be with somebody for that long, and all of a sudden we call it up and marry
Up and
somebody.
marry somebody else. But that's also, I attest that to, and me and Amber have talked about this, laying your definition of grief onto
Hmm.
somebody else's situation,
Mhm.
which is also dangerous. It's not safe because how that person has grieved the loss is not going to be the same as you may have grieved the loss, because the perspective
Yeah.
is going to be different. They were married to this person, but you
Hmm.
just experienced them in whatever setting they were in.
Hmm.
So
There's
But
go ahead,
a
Mom.
lot of times we want to put our standard on things.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
uh, it's been a year. They should be over this by now.
Mm,
And but everybody is different, and everybody grieves differently. And and I know that they say that I forget how many stages or steps in grief. Everybody, they haven't, they may get stuck in one
yeah,
for a longer period of time than someone else. So we cannot put our standards or our feelings or our thoughts on to everybody else.
exactly. Exactly. Or the opposite of what you said. They've only been married a year and they've gotten over it that quickly. What's wrong with them?
Mhm.
So,
there's a pastor getting married. What, end of this week? I think end of this week. He was married to his former wife for, oh, They
ever,
were, they
A
were high,
ever.
long
they
time.
were high
If
school
it's
sweet.
if it's
They
who
were
I
high
think it
school
is,
sweethearts.
yes, a long
Yeah,
time.
and he's getting married,
Yeah.
and I think he's marrying someone from the congregation. That complicates things.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes,
Oh
it
yeah.
does.
It complicates things because, as Cora was saying, you can't put your standard on him, and um, the scripture that says, "Who knows the inside of a man except the man himself?"
Hmm.
You don't know. You don't know the inside of them. You can't. You can't do that. You can't do that. Uh,
And
yeah.
even the man himself doesn't know all of the
No.
inside of him.
No.
So,
No. Because there are some. There are some. Now, I know it sounds strange, but there are some funerals that I've gone to that are really close relatives of mine. But I was okay.
yeah.
I was I was okay. I mean, I didn't say I didn't feel it, but I
Hmm.
was okay. But then there's some ones, and I'm thinking, why does this one? It's this
Why this one hits so
unpredictability.
heavy? Right, right, right.
Yeah, why is this? Why this one? I didn't really wasn't really that close, or didn't really know them that well. But why does this one have such uh, a pool? And I think that you can explain that. It doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
Can I offer, does our, and we're all saved and we all have spiritual gifts.
Amen.
Does our discernment make it that sensitive or attribute to the sensitivity when we're in those situations?
Not always.
Hmm.
Okay.
I, for me, not always, because I've been with people who are relatives who are saved and relatives who are not, and people who are not saved, and people who have been pastors and all kinds of different situations. So it's all different. It's just it's a mess,
Hmm.
and I think that to standardize it and to move it to where this woman, what is it, Elizabeth Kubler Ross,
Mm,
with the stages of
of grief.
denial and anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance, is to fit it in. It's a nice, neat little box.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure that it fits that well, and I'm pretty sure she's um, looked at her research. She's saying it doesn't necessarily fit that well.
Mm.
So
Some people skip right to anger and stay
yeah, they're
there.
right there.
Or some people get to depression and that's it for them. They're stuck there. I mean,
Mhm.
you
And
know,
some people get stuck on denial.
yeah, that it never happened. And they
Mhm.
just move. That's how you see people able to move right along, because they've gotten to denial. It never happened. This person at the store getting a thing of milk, they coming back.
Yeah, but can I if as this conversation is going, is it up to us to move them from one place to another? If they're stuck in one, are you going to facilitate their movement to the next or another place, or just let them stay in it? Or
I feel like you have to let them pull themselves out of it. And and sometimes you can trigger that by pointing it out. Like one of the things that has happened to me recently is, I'd say about maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I'm running down talking to my therapist about, life or whatever, and I start running down all these symptoms, and she says, "You're depressed." And I said, "Girl, stop lying to me." I did not know. It did not dawn on me that what I was doing and what I was feeling was a part of being functionally depressed. I could function, I could get up, go to work, but at the end of the day, I wanted to go get back in the bed, lay down, and I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to go nowhere. I didn't want to see nobody. I just wanted to go get in the bed. And she said, "Honey, you're depressed." And when she gave me that revelation, it was almost like a switch went off. And I said, well, shoot.
Mm,
I had no idea. And having that revelation is what ultimately brought me out of the depression because now I was aware of the behavior. And then she gave me the tools to now pull myself out of depression. So sometimes just walking up to somebody and telling them, in your grief process, you're at anger.
hmm
Just want you to know that. And walk away. Sometimes giving them that reality check is
hmm
enough. And sometimes you can't give nobody a reality check and they just are determined to stay stuck where they are.
You don't know. Yeah, the response is you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
You don't know how I feel, which means I don't want to come out of where I am.
Yeah. Because
That,
some people
mm,
connect that feeling of grief to the life and the love that they had for that person. And
hmm
they almost feel like if I'm not grieving, I didn't love them. Or if I'm not upset about this, I don't have any feelings about this. So it's hard for them to take those feelings and put them away or
hmm
get over them because they have connected the grief and the emotions that come with grief to the person who has passed away. And you're still holding on to that person and those emotions. And what ends up happening is you are determined to stay where you are because it makes you feel like you have continued to love or care about that person.
As you were saying, it's like if you move on, then you feel guilty
Mm-hmm.
that, eh, like we say, emotions are so
They're
strange.
finicky.
And you feel guilty because you're moving on, and you think that what is wrong with me? I've forgotten because I moved on. I've forgotten that. And
Yeah.
it's just like Matthew said earlier. Your emotions are just unexplained. You
Mm-hmm.
can't explain them, and like you said, everybody has them, and each person have to pull themselves out. But whatever we can do to, you can't, I can't tell you to, like I said earlier, I can't tell you get over it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that simple.
Mm-mm.
no, no. It's like people. I have to be mindful of who I say this to. People write on their when they're a love the date that their loved one passed away, a heavenly birthday. Te- there is no such thing, but you can't tell everybody that. You can't. They're not ready to receive that. All they want to know is that they want to receive. They want to just that gives them comfort. And
Yes.
I think Amber said something a few minutes ago. Is that I think what we miss in this grief and sorrow, what we can't calculate is how well. I guess the best. I'll say it. I'll say it because it's just you all. The
Mhm.
consummation of emotions
Mm.
between people,
Mhm.
because the consummation of emotions produces something, and sometimes that consummation is produces a lot more, and sometimes it doesn't produce as much, even though it should be. It's close. It doesn't produce as much, and I think that intertwining of emotions um, then contributes to the level of grief and the level and the depth of sorrow. And I think that when we're moving to uh, I remember when my grandfather died. I didn't understand it. I was like 7 or so, but uh, I did not understand it. But I was connected. I was connected to him.
Mhm.
I really didn't know him that well because back in the day we didn't, I'm not playing with the kids, but it was my grandpa. I understood that. And it just depends on how much that emotional consummation is, what fruit that brings forth. And everything is, I can't tell you I've seen the traumatic and the dramatic and violent and everything, not everything, but a lot of things. And it's all different.
Mm-hmm.
It's all different. And I don't know what prepares you. You have to get a standard to prepare you. So if you're a funeral director, you're gonna have to prepare yourself for that. But as but that's gonna maybe numb you to something else.
And you said something interesting there because one of the things that I tell people all the time, the only person who understands my grief
Mm-hmm.
is my brother because we are literally grieving the same people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are the only people who share that like other people can say, "Oh, I share your grief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
with you through this." But the only true person who can fully understand
Mm-hmm.
is my brother because he also lost his mother and his grandmother and his uncle. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have become closer and connected
Mm-hmm.
because of the what we went through together. Losing my grandmother, losing my mother, losing my uncle, we went through all that hand in hand together. And so I always say, sometimes but still, even with us sharing that grief, we
Mm-hmm.
still had individual
Yeah.
journeys,
Yeah.
went in different directions. My brother to me, he got softer, got a little less selfish. Um, Me, on the other hand, I went in a completely different direction. It changed me. It changed me to lose my mother. It changed me to lose my grandmother. It changed my personality. Who I was before they died is not the same person that I was today. One of the biggest things that happened to me is that I drew closer to God. My relationship with him changed once my parents died. And because I needed him so heavily and I was leaning on him so heavily and I didn't know who else to go to. So my relationship with the Lord changed through my grief process. Now, my brother, on the other hand, I don't know what deity he serves on which day, but he's happy.
Yeah. It's This is Pandora's box
Mhm.
of emotions that well up, and it's kind of like where they're going to land. You don't know.
Mhm.
And like you said, some people get softer, some people get harsher. Sometimes they just move in so many different. Right? You just gotta wait and you just gotta wait and see. And I think that when for me, the best thing for me to do has been to basically uh, wait, just chill. Don't even though you know what to say, you understand what to say, you recognize what's going on, you can discern, but who is going to receive that now?
Yeah.
And that's really important. They're not ready to receive that. They're not ready to receive. There will come a time when you will not want to hear any word. You will not want to hear any scriptures. Don't preach to me. Don't say no scriptures to me. That's not what I want right now. But you have to they basically have to tell you what they need or what they want.
But
You
most of the time, people who are grieving, they're not going to tell you because their emotions are so,
Raw. Yeah.
yeah, and they don't even know what they want or what they need themselves. So they're not going to tell you what they want. And I think that one of your questions on the list was about misconceptions, or, well, no, not that one. What people The wrong things, platitudes.
hmm
Don't come
Mm.
with they're in a better place, or time heals all wounds, or you know, don't
Don't do that.
whether they don't want to hear that. They don't want
Exactly.
to hear that.
They don't want to hear the cards.
Hmm.
So what's worse, churchy platitudes, insincere words of comfort, or words from a person who does not care what he or she is saying? Which one's worse?
This part of the conversation takes me back to Job, right? And
Yeah.
the study we've been doing with Job. And one of the things that happened when Job's friends showed up, they sat silent for 7 days. And it was like
Hmm.
that. Sometimes if you don't know what to say, the best thing to say is nothing.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I appreciated the friends for because they just came, sat, and grieved with
Hmm.
him for those 7 days before they started talking crazy.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you need is silence. Sometimes what you need from your friends and the people around you is just comfort in knowing that you're there and not necessarily have to say a word to them. So,
I agree with you. If you just jump right in and you know, start serving greens, and
mhm,
they may not want it, they may not need it, they may not care for it, not right now.
mhm.
And you're trying to find something to fix. This is something. It's kind of like mercury. You ever try to put your thumb on mercury?
Mm,
It's
Okay.
not. You can't do it. It's just impossible to do. Uh, Even after discernment, there still needs to be wisdom.
Hmm.
There still needs to be wisdom.
but just as I chime in, a lot of people that may have discernment don't have the read the room technique embedded in them.
Oh, yes. I have two friends that are like completely different persons. One will come in, read the room. She'll sit in the corner. She'll hold your hand. Like when my mom died, she came, she got in the bed with me, and we just laid there.
Hmm.
And that was it. My other friend, he will come into the room and say whatever comes to his mind at any given time. So it's just different. People are different, but sometimes it's just silence. Shut up. Stop talking. You don't have to feel this. You don't have to feel the silence with something. You don't have to fill it up. You can just let it be, let it settle.
Have we settled it in us? Settling. I need to settle for me and my wife. What happens with her? What is she gonna? How's she handling it? I need to get things clear between us, um, because I understood when I get ready to leave. I don't want all this stuff. Just give me a just do this and get it over with. Now, she's not really happy with that. So she won't be able to have good closure and grieve properly if I go first. We haven't decided yet.
Amen.
I don't know how I feel about that. Okay. Okay.
But I think that when we're talking about grief, it is so. Um, I think the word is unexpected, and we are unprepared.
Mhm.
Agreed.
I don't know that how. I'm not certain that Amber mentioned a few minutes ago talking to a person, a therapist, and there are some good people, trained people who can perhaps give you some tools to help. Um, a tool doesn't mean you're going to fix it.
Right.
It's just that it's just that it's a tool. And I think that what we want to do is fix it.
Mhm.
We want it. We we want it done. We want it done. We
We
want to.
want to
We
feel.
want to put it over here. Put a bow on it.
But I
Mhm.
think that's also and it leads me to my next question, but that's also in our salvation. A lot of times we just want God to do, and we eliminate or we skip over the fact that there's something that we have to do sometimes to get the fullness of the answer. So, to get to my question, and I'm going to couple it with another one, what are some of the misconceptions of grief, and how do you handle people who don't understand the grieving process?
I'm not going first this time.
Amen.
No, I said earlier, misconceptions is we think that there should be a time limit,
Right.
and I think that's the major misconception.
One of the misconceptions that I think of is people think there's levels. Like if I lost my child, my
Hmm.
grief is worse than if you lost your
Hmm.
mother. We
Yeah.
think that there's levels to it.
Uh,
It's no levels. It's we all on the same playing field, hon. It
mhm.
hurts either way.
Hurt is hurt. I think that we get the misconceptions happen when we forget we are three-part being.
Mhm.
And I think that we believe that God is now going to come, and if we haven't renewed our mind and we haven't prepared ourselves in the Word, we believe that God's now going to come now and take over our emotions when He's not going to do that. That has to be a discipline of yours to some degree. Now, it's not going to work for everything, but He's not going to now all of a sudden make you something that you are not. If you are an emotionally volatile person, that's who you are
Mhm.
personally, if personality wise. If your emotions, your that part of you is still the same.
Yeah.
And unless you are getting your mind renewed and you're bringing your emotions under, but at that point in time, they come out the box,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and who the real you comes out at that time. So I think that the misconception is that the Lord is going to come in and do the work for you. He's not going to come in and do the work for you. It's going to come out, and what's in you is going to come out. And
Question. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
I think that's it. I really that's our major issue. Our major misconception is that we think the Lord is going to come in and fix it. He's going to give me peace in the midst of the storm, and all of it's going to go away. One of our designs, glory to God, one of our designs as a soulish being is that we are not trained, we are not designed to forget.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in you that's designed, everything that you've ever been through that produces that's with adrenaline, with the right trigger, it will come right back.
Right back.
We are not designed to forget. And I think that's the issue with dealing with grief and sorrow is that we are trying to, if I can just forget how it feels, I don't want to forget them, but I want to forget how it feels. And how are you going to separate the two? Those are
Can't.
tough.
Cannot.
Mhm.
Now there are some special people that try, but
Yeah.
you really can't. Now, going back to something that you said, if you're an emotionally charged person, um, what about the person that's emotionally repressive and keeps
Oh,
stuff,
you might see an explosion.
Yeah,
right?
it's a teapot. It's on the thing. It's been
Yeah.
boiling for hours, and eventually it's going to explode.
Hmm.
Mm,
We
Um,
used to have parents who, particularly of children, who came in and who killed in auto accidents, and we brought them in a room where nothing, not kept them out of all the expensive equipment rooms and put them in some place because this calm person all of a sudden uh, turned into somebody else. And
mhm,
you're not going to try, not trying to hold them down. You just so they don't destroy things or hurt themselves. But
mhm,
I think forgetting that we are emotional beings uh, gets you lying to yourself and
mhm,
gets you delaying all these stages and or some of these sub stages. And I think that's an issue. That's an issue
mhm.
because at some point it's going to come out.
So
It's going
then
to come.
I'll ask the question, how dangerous is it to mask or suppress grief, mommy?
Um, Well, suppressing anything,
Yep.
suppressing your emotions, anything, not only has any, uh, like really suppressing what you're feeling, how you're feeling, anything like that, it can change your personality.
Mm-hmm.
And it also can produce physical um, physical problems in your body.
Mhm.
So it is dangerous.
Yeah. I had a friend who she likes to repress her feelings, and I always tell her she as soon as she does it she gets a headache. And I'm like, "Okay, girl, don't you see that this is a physical thing that's happening to you as a result of you holding this stuff in? Don't worry about hurting nobody's feelings. Let it out. Let it out, okay? Talk to yourself if you have to, but let it out. It's no, people who, because sometimes you end up with people who can do both, right? Some that will repress the feelings, and also people who like are a double as emotionally charged and will, once they finally erupt, it's like it's a never-ending cycle of emotion.
Right.
So, but it can kill you, right? That's why they say, they have a real heart condition for people who have lost somebody and are grieving, and that's that whole saying, this person died of a
A
broken
broken
heart.
heart.
You have people will follow right behind their wives and husbands and children because they just couldn't take it, right?
Yeah.
They could not take those emotions.
Seen that often. People couples who've been married for multitudes of years, uh, and and within minutes or hours, they're gone. Both are gone. Both are gone
Mm-hmm.
because they don't, you know. And I think that what makes all this grief and sorrow more complicated is that your network. If your network is small and limited and sheltering,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Because, when someone first dies, I always say this is like when someone first dies, this is when everybody come to your house, they bringing you food, they show up at your door, all these people that you ain't talked to in years, all these family members, everybody's around you. You go to
Mm-hmm.
the funeral, and then you go to the repast, and it's almost like the next day they all disappeared.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you're left with, like you said, either if your network is small, you're left with yourself.
Yeah.
Because
That's
those people, they go back to their regular lives, and there may be some that will call you and check on you to make sure you're okay, but most of them drop off the face of the earth. And so now you're left with yourself. You're left with dealing with those emotions for yourself. It's just,
Amber. That's good because you can. Most of the time, if our network is small, we're not really willing to start building a new network
right.
or adding. I'm not letting you in now. I'm not letting you in. No, this is too intimate
Or
for
you
me to
start
let you.
reducing. Or
I
you
don't know
start
you.
reducing.
Yeah.
Some people start reducing their network. Like,
It's
all right, we got
about
to.
who you feel safest around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after my mom died, I would not go out with just anybody because I didn't know how I was going to feel. I didn't know if a scent was going to come past me, or
Mm-hmm.
I was going to see something or hear something that would bring me to a place of sloppy crying. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be with somebody that I didn't trust. And I didn't want to be in the presence of somebody that wouldn't protect me and you
Mm-hmm.
know, get me out of a situation if I'm there, you know, in that state. And so, sometimes you get people in your life who are fantastic, And then you get people who are not so
Yeah.
fantastic. So certain people I wouldn't even talk to
Hmm. Yeah.
because I just didn't trust being vulnerable with them.
That's the key. Yeah, that vulnerability. I think that you feel naked when
Hmm.
your emotions are raw, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden, I'm as soon as that event is over, and you, like you said, the crying and so forth, you now you're so introspect. You're covering yourself as if like Adam and Eve with the leaves. I'm covering myself. I'm trying to protect myself because you just saw me like I didn't want to be seen,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I let you in some place you shouldn't have been in.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So,
vulnerability.
mm,
I I just knew I didn't I personally was like, I don't want to be out with somebody bust out crying and then they just gonna sit there and stare at me. I
yeah.
need somebody that's like, get your coat, let's go to the car.
Uh,
Come on, girl.
yeah.
Put your hood up.
Mm,
Let's
yeah. Come on,
let's
let's
get
go.
on out of here.
And I think that as we go forward, like Tim said earlier, the fact that you're saved doesn't necessarily give you any uh, advantage. It doesn't necessarily give you an advantage. It gives you an advantage for the result, for the end. But you're dealing with people, and we've had the and I'll say it's an opportunity to deal with people who have lost loved ones and have grieved for years and then got married and were happy and then grieve are still grieving for some, and then others who didn't grieve and went ahead and got into another relationship and finally found out,
And the bomb
oh,
dropped.
I didn't I didn't grieve, which means now this person,
Now has to deal with that.
yes. And even though we tried our best to help, um and to say, okay, here's where you are, uh and it's just putting yourself in situations where it's just not going to work. If putting yourself around same situations, it's not going to, it's that aren't going to work, and you can tell them if you like, or if the Lord leads you to tell them, but they gotta have to know it like Amber said earlier, you're gonna have to know it for yourself. You're gonna find out for yourself. Unfortunately, this is one of those things that you cannot do it for somebody.
No,
You can intercede for them, but you can't grieve for them.
right.
You know, something you said a while ago, we think that if we're saved, we have an advantage, but grief is no respect of person, saved or unsaved. Everybody, you lose somebody, and it may not be through death. It may be through divorce or, a relationship broken up.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose that, you're going to hurt. And it doesn't matter whether you're saved or unsaved. And a lot of times, because we are saved, we think that we have to put on this,
Face.
Front.
this mask that says, as Tim was saying earlier, God's got this, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to, and you're putting all of these feelings back on the inside of you. And as Amber said, it's going to come out. And a lot of times it comes out in physical, and we don't understand what's wrong with us. But it's
Mhm.
because we have stuffed down these feelings and emotions so far. I remember this has nothing to do with grief, but I remember when we first got married, I would always be sitting somewhere waiting for him.
Who's him?
You.
Him. You him.
And it would just, it's like if I went someplace, like I can remember when we lived in Baltimore, I went to the laundromat and he was going, I don't know where it was going, and I had to sit there and wait for him and wait and wait. And I got so But I wasn't going to say anything to him. I just stuffed these feelings down on the inside of me, and it just gave me migraines.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether it's a situation like that in a relationship, or whether it's grief, or whether it's, a loss because of a divorce or whatever, you can't, if there's no respect, everybody goes through it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But
go ahead.
don't.
Saved, unsaved.
No, go ahead, Dad. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tim.
I know that being saved does not make you immune to it,
Mm.
but does relationship give you better tools and depth of relationship give you better tools to deal with it?
I don't
Ooh, I
know.
made him make the face. Yes, that's a good one.
I don't know. I don't. You know, uh, I think Cora brought up a good point. Is that we are relegating grief to uh, a loss of a person death wise, but there are some other applications.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know that.
I
Hmm.
say no.
Really?
I say um, you can have a relationship with God and know Him and trust Him and read His Word and all that,
Mhm.
but somebody leaves you or dies, like
Mhm.
Mom said, it's hurt. It hurt regardless. It doesn't take those feelings away. It just doesn't. But you do get some comfort. Like you said, people look for ways of comfort, those
Mhm.
happy heavenly birthdays, going to their grave with balloons and making balloon releases and stuff like that every year just to commemorate the day that they passed. Those are the things that bring people comfort, right? And so in your time of grief or loss or whatever, sometimes having that relationship is what's going to bring you that peace and that comfort. Having the close relationship, but it doesn't change
Oh
the
no, I'm
reaction.
never going to take that away. Never going to take that away. I'm saying that
Mhm.
the relationship has tools that will help you get through and manage and manipulate through what you're feeling. The hurt's going to be there. The pain
Mhm.
is going to be there. But go ahead,
I
Mom.
I'm
think
I'm not I'm not sure whether it's I'm not sure. I can't say yes or no, because
that's that's
just because you have, as Amber was saying, just because you have a relationship with I mean, you can have a close close relationship with the Lord. You know, when the emotions of that loss,
Mm.
just like Matthew said earlier, you don't even want to hear anybody say anything about the Lord. You don't want to hear, you don't want to hear God will take away all tears. You don't want to hear
God's
that.
got it. God's got it. What?
yeah.
You just don't.
I
You
think
get some people who, when they don't want to hear no scripture, and then you got some people. Every time somebody of the cloth come near them during this process, they like, please pray, 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 pray.
I think that what the I think I was kind of hesitating earlier because I think that when we talk about relationship, that I think there needs to be a combination,
Mm.
a relationship with the Lord and a relationship with your inner circle. I
Yes.
think those two need to come together. If you look at Jesus when Lazarus died,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so that very example of he's showing he's showing emotions.
Well,
He had not yet borne all of our griefs and carried our sorrows, but I think that when we have a relationship with the Lord, we can now keep our emotions off the throne. It didn't say they weren't going to be there. They are going to be there, but we can keep them off the throne. And I guess that second part, that anger, uh, that part of anger, and who we're going to blame. It's really so we may not say it, or we're looking at God and say, "Wow, God, how could you let this happen?"
Mm-hmm.
And and it always seems like it's the it's the good ones. Remember that old song, that quartet song?
Yes.
It's the good ones. The other ones are still here.
Right.
But
The
but
mean ones.
I think it needs a duality in this relationship. First of all, the relationship with the Lord, and but then also a relationship with someone else who's close enough so that you can release.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you don't have somebody that you can release with, I think you need both. I think and I think you're equally. You don't have somebody that you can release with. I mean I don't I I've trained I hate to train myself to what I'm gonna. I decided when I was a little boy what I was gonna do, how I was gonna feel, and I put it all together, and nothing uh, much would break that. But I needed someone. Uh, I think when we first got together, I talked more with my wife than anything, but I still needed more. There still needed more. And I'm still, it's a working, for me, it's a work in progress. It's not for God. He's already done.
But, but
But,
what you allude to is something that I'd like to teach all the time. That your life has to have balance. Not only is it the vertical, but the horizontal as well. And that talks
mm,
about your circle and keeping that relationship functioning and functional so that you can, when that occurrence happens, you have somebody that you can say, I got to get
mm,
this off of me.
yeah.
And two, as Amber was saying, you have to have a circle that you can trust
Hmm.
when you're hurting and you don't want to hear anything, you don't want to hear any scriptures. You don't want to hear you just want to hurt. You have somebody around you that can carry you,
Hmm.
that can hold you up, that can lift you up without saying anything. They're just there to, so that you'll know that you're not going through this by yourself.
Right.
But, there'll come a time when, you'll get to the point where you do want to hear what the word says. You do want to hear what the Lord said. But, at first, you just want, sometimes you just want to hurt.
Hmm.
Just,
Yeah.
just hurt.
And it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It is necessary. If you don't hurt, you will not grow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
A seed must fall into the ground and
Die
yes.
Mm-hmm.
and die.
And if we aren't going to die to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
then we aren't going to grow. But I think that you and everyone who's here has an opportunity to uh, learn from this situation, learn in these different grieving situations to say, okay, that everything's not the same. All these, I know which some people may skip all these stages and other stages and do something else, do something completely different, something you've never seen before.
Right.
But let it allow it to happen.
Go ahead.
I think that the word is allow it to happen. Let it be.
Yeah.
I got two
Weep
more
with them who
questions.
weep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also a skill, but we'll talk about that in a second. I have two more questions and then we're going to call it for the night. Why does grief tend to bring instability in a person's relationship with God? We talked around this subject, but we didn't pinpoint it.
It's misalignment.
Yeah. And wanting to blame someone. Like if you had a relative who died from cancer, you can't go and fight cancer, but you can fight God. You can go and argue with him about it. And so, yeah, that's where it becomes unstable. If you believe that, God did this to them and it's God's fault. Because, if you ain't got somebody physical that you can blame, then
You blame the
you
person
got to
that you
blame
can't see.
somebody.
Hmm.
You said it earlier that's we are out of we are out of balance spiritually. We're we're so spiritual, so heavenly minded. We ain't no earthly good, or we're so
Mm.
earthly mind, or we're so earthly mind. We're no heavenly good, and
Mm.
we have no social skills. Well, oh,
None.
we have the church stuff, but we don't have any social skills, and we just simply out of balance.
Mm.
You know, for some reason, we believe that we've come into this club. We learned all the club rules and the club jargon,
Club lingo. Yes.
and now uh, that's all we know. That's all we want. That's all we want to be,
Mm.
and we don't have any balance. So I think that's an issue with us. The Lord is asking for balance. He wants balance because he wants to be in every part of our lives. He doesn't like church very much.
Right.
Ooh, that's another day. Ooh, that's yes. He don't like it.
No,
Not what we present as
no,
church.
that's right.
No. Um, last question. And before I say this last question, I want to thank my daddy, my mommy, and my baby girl for having this great discussion. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Last question, individual answers, please. What is the worst part of grieving from your perspective? And
I'll
Dad,
go
you won't
first.
be first. Go ahead, Amber.
The reality.
Please
That was the
explain.
worst part
Please
for me.
elaborate. Please elaborate.
The reality, with your parents, when you lose a parent, it's different. It's very unique because you've pretty much known this person your entire life. And so now, once they're gone, your life has been so connected to them. I mean, they gave you life, of course, but you have known them all the time that you've been on this earth. And so it's like when they're gone and you have to face the reality that they're gone, that was the hardest part, was catching that and getting that reality that my mama is not on the other end of a cell phone call. She not around the corner. She not calling me, fussing at me. It was the real and the acceptance of that reality. Took me a long time to get there, but it's the reality that was the hardest part for me.
Dad,
Um, I guess for me, it really wasn't. I know it sounds strange, but my mother and my father, the bigger impact between my father and mother. But the biggest impact for me were the ones who my kids, my brilliant kids, my that you pour into and see this bloom, this blossom that you know that you can pour more into, and they can just grow and grow and grow, and they're gone.
Mm.
That hurts. That
Yeah.
that hurts, and um, it's and I think it makes me um, retract a bit because when it happened the first time,
Mhm.
second time, now the third time, I'm thinking, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? Do I see? Yeah, yeah. But that's for me personally.
Well, for me personally, I think I think that my situation is a little different because in my personal family, there were 10 of us, eight brothers and 8 children, and mother and father. And my father was the first to leave in 2002. And from 2002 until I can't remember, but it's only three of us left now. I've lost, seven, I think. And I can honestly say that when my mother and father were living, as Amber said, that person that you've known all your life, I didn't know. We lived in the same house. I didn't know my mother or father. I didn't know my father until after he died.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know who my mother was, so their deaths did not, I can't say it didn't affect me,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't, I don't know, and of my brothers and sisters, my oldest sister, she was more like a mother to me than my mother. Her, I took her death harder than my mother and father. And my oldest brother, even though he lived in Colorado, I only saw him like maybe once a year. It was just the fact that I knew he was there. And, and as Amber said, it's the reality of knowing that I won't see them again.
Mm-hmm.
It was like with Tim, it's like some things that happen. And I say, oh, I call V, and
Mm-hmm.
that, that they're not there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the as Matthew was saying, the one that really, that I can say that I grieved and hurt and still I haven't gotten, was Marquise.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, it was like any, I know that I never saw him on the motorcycle. I never saw him ride. I didn't never saw, but I be I'm sitting here in the house. I hear a motorcycle go by, and it just comes, it just
Triggers.
comes on you.
Yeah.
And just thinking about it, just thinking about the night that I felt, and it all comes back. And I can't talk, like, I can't talk to his mother. I can't talk to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
I admit it, and I to myself, I admit it to myself and to God. But I guess it's, as Amber said, it's the reality of knowing that they're just not here anymore, and I can't talk to them anymore, and I can't, I can't interact with them anymore, and because they're just not here.
It also, for us, because we're on vacation, it's affecting us because it happened on a vacation.
Mm. Yeah.
And every year that we go had been on vacation afterwards, we almost listen and don't listen for that phone call. So vacation is not
Has
vacation.
has a different feel.
Yeah.
Somebody on the internet said grief is like glitter.
Mm-hmm.
When you first get it on yourself, it's all over the place. It's on your hands, it's on your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, once you shower over time, you still running into pieces of glitter throughout your house, throughout the
Mm-hmm.
years. And it's just eventually you'll finally see like maybe one or two pieces of glitter, and it just brings back to your remembrance the first time you had glitter all over you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's the way that grief works. And it will creep up on you and, surprise you, slap you upside the head.
Step you
Uh,
upside.
I mean, because, I look just like my mother, right? And so the other day I looked in the mirror and I said, "Woo, child, you look like your mama." And it just, that whole thing, interaction, it brought me a smile, but at the same time, it also brought back that feeling, of loss.
Yeah.
So,
I do the same thing with my father.
Mm. We reference him very often. Very often. Grandpa. I think that is going to conclude our interview questions, but thank you all so very much for the insight. Thank you for all of us sharing, and hopefully someone will get something valuable out of the information that we have shared. That was a great, great interview. I hope that it was enlightening and enriching for everybody. And I hope that you got something from it. And just know that everybody's grief is different. Use grace in those situations. Something to think about, though. Until the next.